Hey everybody, Matthew here from MiniWarGaming.com, and here are the 6 biggest changes that we think have happened from 2nd to 3rd edition of Age of Sigmar.
We play and call it work.
Before I get into all the changes, just want to remind you that we have, for our MiniWarGaming Vault members, some extra battle reports just for you. So after you finish watching this video, there's a link in the video description below to go and watch one of our 3rd edition Age of Sigmar games. If you're not a Vault member, you can still click that link and get a free 7-day trial. Number 1, command abilities and command points. Now I should note that I'm going to be doing some other standalone videos on some of the changes. This is one of them. Command abilities have changed so much that it deserves its own video, but we'll give you a quick overview right here. First off, who can issue command abilities has changed. Now it's still heroes, but all heroes can do it within 12 inches, totems and generals wholly within 18 inches, and in addition, the sergeants of a squad can issue command abilities to their own squad. You gain command points every battle round, and whatever ones you don't use, you lose at the end of each battle round. The player going second gets an extra command point. Your general gets you extra command points. There are heroic actions, which are new, that give you command points. And of course, there are individual war scrolls, which will give you command points every hero phase as well. There's been a total rework of most of the command abilities. The one that lets you run, you have to just choose to do it before you roll. The all-out attack is a +1 to hit, and all-out defense is a +1 save, rather than re-rolling ones for both of those. They've introduced a new one called Unleash Hell, which is basically Overwatch from Warhammer 40k. After a unit has charged you, you can shoot them with -1 to hit. And also in the hero phase, there is a rally command ability allowing any army to possibly bring models back to units that have suffered casualties. Each command ability can also be issued once per phase. So while Inspiring Presence is still here, now you can't use it more than once in the Battle Shock phase. Number 2, endless spells and invocations. This one is also worthy of its own video, so we'll make sure to do that in the next week or two. There are lots of changes here, from the fact that priests can now dispel endless spells, to the fact that you can dispel endless spells in your opponent's hero phase, to the fact that endless spells that are predatory move at the end of every hero phase and can still be controlled by the person who summoned them as long as they're within 30 inches. And models are allowed to move through endless spells, so you can't just use them as walls anymore. Like I said before, this deserves its own video, so we'll do a separate video just on how endless spells and invocations now work and all the subtle changes and what that'll mean for your game. Number 3, unit coherency. This feels like a small change, and yet it's going to have a great impact on the game. Before, unit coherency just meant that all your models had to be within 1 inch of each other in a continuous line or blob or whatever it happened to be. Now, if you have 6 or more models in the same unit, then each model must be within 1 inch of 2 models from the same unit or more. Now in 40k this already happened, but since theirs is a 2-inch coherency, it doesn't feel like it has much of an effect. But with the 1-inch coherency and being forced to be within 1 inch of 2 different models, it essentially makes it feel like you have to set up your models in a rank and file method. This means if you're on 32mm bases, you're going to get a lot less attacks in close combat unless you have a reach of 2 inches or 3 inches on your close combat attack. It also means it'll be harder to move out and block certain areas. And combined with the fact that a single unit cannot control more than one objective anymore, it's going to make it really hard for you to use big blobs to really control good portions of the table. Number 4, table size. That's right, we've got the same minimum table sizes that Warhammer 40k introduced in 9th edition, which is 44 inches by 60 inches. Now, this seems to be motivated by a couple things. First off, the mats that Games Workshop sells, if you put 4 of them together, you get 44 by 60 inches. But maybe it's also because of how much the community has seemed to enjoy the smaller table size, especially in the competitive scene. When you combine this with the 3 match play scenarios in the core rulebook only having an 18-inch no man's land, you end up having a very claustrophobic table where the action starts very quickly. I should note, however, it doesn't say you have to play at these sizes, it just says a minimum recommended table size. So you're still free to play on a 6x4 table like you always have. Just understand that it is going to change the dynamics of a game a little bit when you have more space for coming in from reinforcements or things like that. Number 5, War Scroll and Core Battalions. The big change for match play, at least for now, is that there are no War Scroll battalions allowed. Now this is just the match play in the core rulebook. We still don't know yet what the General's Handbook will say. So if the General's Handbook is already out and says something by the time this video comes out, we'll make sure to put a little notation right here. Furthermore, they have introduced a new type of battalion called a Core Battalion. These, like War Scroll battalions, are optional, but you don't pay any points for them, and they each have different functions. Now this is going to merit its own video as well, because it changes a lot about how you might think about how you build your army, especially when you combine it with other changes such as unit sizes and the limits to how many times you can bring larger units. So we'll cover that in another video. Suffice it to say, there are now advantages for theming your army in certain ways, such as getting to use command abilities for free, or dropping your troops faster, or getting extra command points, or extra artifacts, or spells, or other things as well. Number 6, monster buffs. Monsters have gotten stronger in this edition for 2 different reasons, at least. The first one is they now count as 5 models when it comes to controlling an objective. So move over, ogres. You're not the only ones who get to do that. Now, ogres still count as 10 when they're a monster, and 2 otherwise. And just to point out, if you have a model that has 5 or more wounds, and that is not a monster, it does get to count as 2 models for controlling an objective. You combine this with the new rampage rules, which is at the end of the charge phase, each monster can do a different kind of rampage action, such as stopping a unit from being able to use command abilities in the combat phase, to possibly doing mortal wounds, to challenging another monster and getting +1 to hit, and so on. This allows our monsters to do even more than what they could do before. So those are the 6 changes that we thought would have the biggest influence from going to 2nd to 3rd edition. What do you think? From what you've been able to see on Warhammer Community and other videos, what changes do you think would actually have made this top 5 or 6 list? We'd love to hear you in the comments below. And don't forget, we have another battle report for you right now in the MiniWarGaming Vault of Age of Sigmar 3rd edition. That is at the link below. If you're not a Vault member, we strongly recommend you click it, get a free 7-day trial, check it out, and all the other coverage that is in the MiniWarGaming Vault. We hope, of course, you'll stick around to help to support us. Stay tuned for more Age of Sigmar 3rd edition coverage. Happy wargaming.